On the Unit 5 review sheet number 23, we're going to find the half angles for sine, cosine, and tangent, given that tangent of the angle is negative 35 over 12 in quadrant 2. So looking at those formulas for sine, the half angles of sine, cosine, and tangent, looks like I need cosine. Looks like I need, just cosine. Assuming that cosine and sine come out relatively pretty and I can manipulate them, then I can find tangent using those two answers. So I'm going to start by finding cosine. I have tangent. It's in quadrant 2, which means I have a triangle that's oriented like so with the reference angle right here. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so that would be a 12. I'm sorry, wrong way. 35 over 12. The 12 is the negative since it's oriented in quadrant 2, and the 35 is positive. So I need to find the hypotenuse in order to find cosine. So let's see, we have negative 12 squared plus 35 squared equals the hypotenuse squared, which gives me 144 plus 35 squared. I don't know off the top of my head, so I'll do some side work on that. I get 1,225 equals r squared. I like to add these together, so adding 144, I get 963. So I take a square root of both sides. I get the square root of r is going to equal the square root of plus or minus 1369, which I know will be positive because it's an hypotenuse. That's always positive. R is always positive. So it's going to be positive 37. I'm okay with the calculator to get the square root of that one. That's not one I would expect you to have memorized. Okay, so we got our triangle. So this is 37 now. Once I have my triangle, now I can find cosine. Cosine, again, is so cos, so it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of that angle is going to be negative 12 over 37. And that is what I'm going to use here and here. All right, so now I'm going to use that half angle formula for cosine, u over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 1 plus this thing, which is a negative 12 over 37, all over 2. I'm going to turn that 1 into a 37 over 37 so I can simplify that fraction. All over 2. And that is plus or minus, let's see, 25 over 37. And instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 1/2 for cosine, which gives me 25 over 74, which gives me 5. Square root of 25 is 5, which gives me square root of 5 over square root of 74. And that will be a positive since okay, so I should have stopped there. So if our angle is in quadrant 2, so our angle is somewhere between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. That means half our angle is going to be somewhere between 45 degrees and 90 degrees. So it's in quadrant 1, and cosine is positive in quadrant 1. So this gives me that positive sign. So if the angle's in quadrant 2, that means the half angle is in quadrant 1. So we use that for our signage. Okay, moving on to sine. Sine of u over 2 equals plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine of u over 2. So we've already done a lot of this math. We've already done the fractions. We just have to change that sign. We had a plus and negative here. So now we're going to have a negative minus a negative, which is going to give me a positive. So I'm going to keep that 1 as a 37 over 37. And then I'm going to add instead of subtract. All that over 2, still under the square root, which gives me plus or minus square root of 37 plus 12 gives me 49 over 37. And instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 1/2. Square root of 49 is 7. And then in the denominator, I have the square root of 37 times 2, which again is square root of 74. And our sign is going to be the positive since we're in quadrant 1. Remember that math right there. So, excuse me. That is plus 7 over square root of 74. So I got 2 final answers so far. I'm just going to box them so I don't lose where I was. So there's cosine and sine, and then I need to find tangent. So I'm going to try to just use the fact that tangent is sine over cosine. Both sine and cosine are positive, and tangent's going to be positive also, because again, we are in quadrant 1 for the half angle. So sine was this guy, and then this was cosine. So I'm going to take this thing divided by that thing. I have a positive divided by a positive, so that's a positive again. They both have a common denominator of radical 74. So when I divide, those will drop out, and I'm left with the numerator of sine over the numerator of cosine, which is 7/5. Okay, so that was relatively easy. I'm going to put this should be tangent of u over 2. So since that was kind of easy to simplify sine over cosine, I don't have to worry about the half angle identity for tangent. And I just applied sine over cosine.